All right. Try that. Okay. We are bringing the meeting to order at 5:40. And let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a couple options.
Yeah.
Oh,
The folded flags.
we got okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call. I'm gonna strike Jimmy out because he shouldn't take on beforehand, but they're wrong. So Aaron Montano,
Present.
Bryn King,
Present.
Gabriel Sook, present, Rebecca Boucher,
Present.
Mark Ben Mason, present, Terry Fraser, present, Bill Lee, present. All right, guys. Thank you. Okay, so before we get started, let's approval of agenda. Is that last agenda or is that this agenda? You have to. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's approve. So we got to approve the agenda, which everybody should have in front of them. I've discussed just now that we're going to make sure that this agenda process, and usually, Bill, don't be deceived by this single piece of paper because this is a very misleading representation of what it usually looks like. But because we are in the summer and because we're not doing financials tonight, we have maybe the thinnest agenda we will ever have. I don't think, I guess the corrections to the agenda were adding Bill Lee's name, removing Jeremy's name. Actually, my name is misspelled too. It's
It's been like that for.
but no time like the present.
So your name spelled incorrectly?
Yeah. Okay, we could fix these names that. And then I guess the stuff in the footer I will fix before next meeting because are there any questions, comments, or other discussion about the agenda or last meeting's minutes? Okay, then if somebody wants to offer a motion to approve the agenda. All right, Rebecca motions as it stands. Terry seconds. All right. Let's do the votes. Aaron, how do you vote? Ben? Aye. Rebecca?
Hi.
Gabriel, I vote aye. Am I supposed to do this? Bill? Aye. Terry? Bryn?
Aye.
All right. Agenda has been approved and minutes have been approved. Okay, so before we dig into our three action items now, because one of them we're going to table. I just want to follow up on my email. First of all, for those who came late, Bill, I'm very sorry again. We've noticed that we have not had a very good process for kind of notifications about the board and getting the agenda out. So in advance of the next meeting, that's going to be streamlined. You know, we want to always make sure that the purpose of all this stuff, the 72-hour notification rule, is so that the public can be aware of what we do. This is also why we're recording it. And so I'm sorry that you guys, even if it was posted, that it was not gotten around to everybody as it should have been. And thanks for everybody's understanding on being here in person. I mean, I think I want to stress that, for myself included, there's going to be times that are going to come up where you can't make the meeting at all, or where it's like the only way I'm making this meeting is Zoom or whatever else. That's going to happen to all of us. I totally, expect that. I just think it would be helpful for everybody. It's just better to be in person. We can see each other's eyes. We can kind of talk quicker. You don't have to wait for people to press unmute, all the time. And so I appreciate everybody's understanding on that. This is kind of a pretty big transition for the board because Aaron, Bryn, and Jeremy were basically there from the get-go. And when they brought first me, Ben, and Terry on, a year and a half ago, the idea, which was very smart, was, we've been here for a long time. We're going to time out. We need to get some new people in here for some new ideas, new energy, so on and so forth. And so, the board has a state mandated requirements. So there's certain things that we're always going to have to do and always going to do. But we can knock those things out pretty easily. And so this kind of transition in the board is timing also with a pretty big transition in the school. We're going into our first year with the 12th grade class, which is, I don't know, starting from 100 kids seven years ago to
Yeah, this is year 8.
now we're gonna have seniors is pretty wild. If you notice the earth moving equipment on the way in, we are physically growing and changing a lot. And I think that presents perfect timing, perfect opportunity for the board to kind of grow and change in its own way too. And I don't have any grand, specifics or ideas about it. I guess one of the things, this is going to be kind of a balancing act between the school and between us as a board in terms of how do we get more involved or how do we help each other. But basically, I said this to Julianne before we were just having a chat. I would like, as her responsibilities continue to snowball and grow and expand in directions maybe she never thought possible, I want us to be a body that is providing support to her and the school to where, either long-term big issue, short-term small issue, that she knows that the board is here, not just to kind of do our board stuff, but to she can throw some work on us and we're ready to kind of take that on. And I think that can happen as a collective, and I think that can also happen individually. I know, Bill, when we were discussing at the other meeting, you have some pretty unique connections and experience in Santa Fe. And I think, as we kind of grow, having somebody who's willing to kind of just take a couple meetings, cup of coffee, meet with some people, and just be a face of the representative of the school in Santa Fe, I think that would be amazing. I think all of us in the community, I'd like us to think a little bit about being kind of lobbyists or ambassadors for the school around the community. And that might mean bragging on yourself a little, or I don't know if it's a brag to say you're on a school board, but just to let people know and kind of being a little bit more visible, but really just being kind of heavy hitters for the school, because we're going to need it. Maybe not terribly right now, but as we continue to grow, we're going to need to have some cash and some power and connections and all that other stuff that a board traditionally brings. And I think I'm sure that's been happening, all along to a certain extent. I just want to kind of bring a little bit more intentionality into it. So I'd also like to ask all of you just to kind of think about your experience in life, your skill set in life, what you know, what you do well, and how that might be of service to Julianne in the school, and be proactive about saying, hey, can I help you out with this? Or can I do that? Because I think she's super busy. We're all super busy. If, maybe we have the capacity and interest to help, and she has, the need and things. But if we're not both being proactive about that, it's probably not going to amount to much. So those are my thoughts. Any reflections, questions, or does that all make sense? Just basically use this, I don't know, construction metaphor, use this transition time to grow what the board can be and what the board is. Okay. All right. Let us move on to our action items. So at the last meeting, because we thought Bryn, Jeremy, and Aaron absolutely had to leave, we shuffled board officer positions. Terry, due to other obligations, kind of in a perfect world, is going to not serve as an officer, but she very kindly stepped up as the treasurer for a short period of time. But because it will be a legendary tenure, Terry, I promise.
All right.
We'll be talking about the Terry treasurer tenure. Bryn has let us know that she is willing to step back into the role. She has been doing it a long time. So I would like us to consider voting Bryn back in to replace Terry as treasurer. Does anybody have anything to add or anything?
I move that we move Bryn back into.
All right, is that a motion, Terry? Do we have a, all right.
Yeah,
Terry motions that we move Bryn back into the treasurer role.
love you, Bryn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
And Rebecca seconds. All right. Aaron, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bryn,
Aye.
Rebecca, Mark, Ben. Do I vote? Do I vote for myself in this, or I just say like I vote aye?
Jeremy.
Yeah.
you vote.
Okay, I think I do vote. I don't know if that. I was like, do I have to call on myself? I guess that's
It's appropriate for you to vote.
You're a voting member.
all right. Aye. Bill,
Aye.
Terry.
I,
All right. Motion passes. Bryn, you are now the treasurer again. I'm assuming, Bryn, you are still connected to Mineral Tree and we can just kind of proceed as is.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Voting on our new PTO payment policy. Julianne, is this?
So today I sent you the wording, but I can grab it on the
Yeah.
computer here. There were two policies that I was going to ask for us to vote on, but one was on transportation and then didn't make it into the agenda, so we'll just put that on the next time. But Dan had sent the wording for this one, for the PTO.
Oh, the PTO. Okay, what am I looking at? Oh, that was transportation. Okay.
So transportation didn't make it on.
So
there.
guys, and I'm sorry, let me, am I connected to that printer? I just want to put this in front of the, well, let me read it out and then if we want to, I want people to be able to see it in front of them, in case that, so let me just read this out. And do we, let me just read it out so we can hear it. So in the event that a full-time staff member who is eligible for at least 10 days of PTO does not use more than 2 PTO days within the school calendar year, the staff member will receive a check for $1,000 payable at the contract. Can you explain that a little bit more to us, Julianne? Kind of give us context on what
Sure.
was.
So the right now we have PTO for 10-month contract employees for 10 days, and we have 12 days of PTO for those who are on a full year contract, 12-month contract year round. We can only carry over 3 PTO days because in order for us to carry over more PTO days, we have to maintain a certain amount of reserve to cover those in the event that everybody decided that they were going to be out or what have you or leave or whatever. So the most that we felt that we could manage safely was 3 days. So what happens then everybody thinks use it or lose it. And it's bad for our students. The consistency of the classroom really needs to be that there's a benefit for staff to stay on and they feel that they are not penalized and that there is a reward. if
So
they don't.
you found a problem that at the end of the year, people have PTO to burn and they're like, I'm gonna lose it, so I might as well just, and so it ends up being,
Taking
just-
a 5-day vacation,
okay,
something along those lines.
Yeah.
So we don't want that.
Right.
We want the staff to be here. And the reason for the PTO is if you're ill, it's not just to use it or lose it. So it's just the wrong message is getting sent. And so what we really want is for staff to stay. So if they don't use more than 2 of their days, they can still carry over the 3, but if they don't use more than 2 in the calendar year, then we would give them $1,000 sort of reimbursement for their time for not having used
where it says at the contract, what is that specific?
at the end of the contract.
At the end of the
It
contract.
should say. At the end.
And that's implying everyone's on an annual contract, and so at in the final paycheck, because they're on 11 paychecks, is that correct, or is that?
So they're year-round.
Oh, okay,
paychecks.
so whatever their June paycheck
June 30th is the last. day of the
would
fiscal year.
include $1,000.
Include the-
It would be taxable. It's just okay.
So Katie has already confirmed that this is doable as far as the budget goes.
And she's looked at kind of like worst case scenarios if
Well,
ever.
because when a teacher or an aide is absent, we pay for a sub.
Hmm.
And so if they take 10 days, then we're paying for that sub for 10 days. Whereas if we pay for 2 days, we want to reduce the number of dollars. It's really just transferring the dollars from either paying the sub or paying this bonus out to staff to.
Do our employees have sick leave in addition to the PTO, or is this, so this is constituting if they have to go to a wedding, they get sick, everything else.
Bereavement is separate if there's
Okay.
a death in the family, but jury duty is separate. Those are guided by other rules. But as far as just somebody calling out, sick time and PTO kind of morph together, that they just have 10 days of PTO to use in a year. 3, they could save, but if they don't use more than 2, they can save their 3 and get a bonus check.
So full,
I'm only,
Yeah.
that's only adding up to 5 for the.
So
if they don't
if they don't use the remaining days,
But-
so they have 10, they can carry, they carry over 3, so that's 7 days remaining.
okay, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So they have 10 days total, or 12. If they can carry over 3 if they wanted to. So that remains 7 remaining
Okay,
days. Out of those 7, if they don't use more than 2 in a year.
But
that-
for the purpose of this argument, we can set aside the carryover and just say, as long as you don't use more than 2 of your PTO days. What, hopefully if people are taking up on this, then the carryover, they get capped at any point for it. I just like my concern with, but well, maybe
21
this
days, I think, is
through.
the cap.
Okay, I just because then you can think about it. We're not big enough, but it's like if there was a higher cap on that, and we got
3,000
people,
days.
yeah, and then that just
21
turns into a pretty big financial obligation out of nowhere. Full-time staff member, does that include people who are not working in a classroom?
Does include people who are not working a classroom, but it doesn't include people who are admins.
Okay.
Include right, it's just I suppose it should read, and maybe Dan can add to this, is that it should be certified non-admin staff. So we're talking about teachers and teachers, anybody we'd be getting a sub for.
Right. Okay. And that's the key. And that makes sense. That's really the problem we're addressing is because, it is financially kind of wasteful and also academically disruptive. Dan, did you hear that? If we can clarify just a little bit, I don't know, adding certified or something so that it's clear, because is this going to then be inserted into their contract, or how is this, how does something like this go out from
It just goes into our
a handbook?
financial policies.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, we just would make that determination and include that money into that paycheck.
Then what we could do is we could approve with amendments, so we could amend it to specify teachers and EAs essentially.
Mhm.
And then that would be sufficient, and you could approve it today.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What, does anybody else have? Bill?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, and maybe somebody will recall, but it was 2 or 3 years ago that the state passed, I think it was called the Healthy Families Act or something. It has to do with paid time off and how much can be given or must be given. And it's been a train wreck since it got passed. Rules were to be defined once the I hate when they do this, but rules were to be defined once they passed the legislation. All the rules still have not been defined. And I don't know how, as a school, we play into that, but I just want to make sure that by doing this, we're also conforming with any rules that may have been placed in that act. And so I'm not sure
So I think
how
Dan,
that falls out.
I think Dan can respond to that officially, but I feel like it's still offered. Those days are offered. So you could choose not to use them. If you choose not to use them, then we're gonna reimburse you for not having used them.
Yeah,
But
I
we're
think,
not-
yeah,
It's still,
I hate the use it or lose it thing because I think it does create problems at the end of a year or something like that, but, and certainly, people need that. So I like the idea. I just want to make sure that we're within.
yeah, that's why Dan's there.
Dan, did you hear the question Bill was asking, and then Bill? there's
Yeah.
Dan.
So, I mean, I think if I'm following right, the specific question was around the Paid Sick Leave Act, the Healthy
Right.
Workplaces Act.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what helps the workplaces. Thank you, Dan. I couldn't
Right.
remember the name completely. So
So-
this,
I'm actually pulling up the statute now just to verify, but my My understanding is that doesn't apply to state. Um, that it doesn't, that it only applies to private employers in New Mexico.
Okay, okay.
And so I think we would be compliant. Um, I also tell you, a number of schools that I represent have enacted similar leave payback policies. Most of them have had them um, for many years now, because coming out of the pandemic was, I think we just had a lot of people using a lot of leave, frankly. And so, and they've been audited, and there's no one that's had a problem with these sort of policies. So my
Yes.
view is it's compliant with the law.
So I think you're right. I don't think that public bodies under the state are forced to comply with that act, but I couldn't remember all of the details of it, other than the fact that it was a horrible piece of legislation, but, so I just want to make sure that we're compliant with that too, though, so. And as long as you think we are, I'm good with that.
Have we offered anything akin or similar to this in the past? Like the where? Okay.
No, and in fact, we don't know that it won't cause another problem.
Well, that's
People
was
sick coming
that
to work.
that was
not
gonna
wanting-
be the next question I was
Right.
gonna get to.
It could be, it could backfire, but I think if, we gotta try something and
Yeah.
see if we can find
And
the
and
balance.
there's no, this is our own initiative. It's not one of those things like the state's asking us to do something and like, once we do it, we can't undo it. We could always
Do it anytime.
change. Okay, okay. Um,
And just so you know, I put in the chat the definition of employer from the Healthy Workplaces Act. And so it says, shall not include the United States, the state, or any political subdivision of the state, which a public school would be considered a political
So-
subdivision of the
Yeah,
state. So
the word
it doesn't
state.
apply.
okay, great. Thank you, Dan.
Sorry.
No, it's good. That,
Oh,
this is
that's
what
good.
this is what we're here to do. This is what we're here for.
Dotting our i's, crossing our t's, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the other thing is like I could see a situation too where it's like that people or just like I don't want to create a headache for you where there's a handful of employees who like had to take a third PTO day, but they think it was like really justified, and you're, as long as, I mean, so, and then that was we're not asking that, we're not like amending a contract or anything, but basically if we put something into our financial policies, that is, somebody can't like come and just like, or sue us or do something crazy, just like, oh, I'm entitled to this money and you screwed me out of it. Not saying they would, but.
Well, we have ways of tracking that and giving statements to them, and so it should be something that's tracked right along. There should be no surprise at the end.
Okay.
that Somebody thinks that they're entitled to
It's on their
something.
check stuff.
It's on their check stubs, yeah, they know when they, but anybody. can Do anything at any time.
All right, so let us go back. Dan, do you think we need to amend the language on full-time staff, or are you comfortable with it as it is?
I mean, I was comfortable with it the way it is, but I think if we want to clarify that it only applies to teaching staff, so teachers and.
It just might be helpful for Julianne and them, so she doesn't have to get questions of.
I think so, because custodians and bus drivers and bus assistants and things like that, but I think we start with the certified staff because that's who we have to pay for subs.
Right. So.
Then if it works well and we want to expand it, we could. But what we're trying to do is just move money from the subs that we pay that are not as effective instructors over to give the teacher incentive to take their vitamins and be here every day.
Yeah, and
It's already worked because some people told me they had to be out of town for the beginning of the school year, and I told them, well, that's too bad because we have this new policy. And they said, maybe I don't have to be out of town. And they're saying, so it's already worked.
Julianne, can you remind me again, so in event that certified, I'm just gonna or Danny, I just want to be able to read it to everyone again before we vote on it. Certified staff member, is that?
Certified teaching staff, non-admin teaching.
Okay. All right, does anybody else have any questions or concerns or thoughts to share?
And move for approval on the policies as amended.
All right, we have a motion from Bill Lee,
I second.
seconded by Bryn, to approve the new PTO policy as amended. All right. Bryn, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aaron, Ben,
Aye.
Rebecca. I vote aye. Bill?
Aye.
Terry. All right. Great. Okay, so next action item is something we're actually gonna table. Is that correct?
Yes.
When are they done? Are they almost done?
They have been worked on, but they have not gotten to the point where they're complete. So there's multiple people working on developing the policies, and so we'll have them presented for next.
Okay.
meeting.
Just as point of information, what's in the handbook, what's contained there?
Just our general policy,
Is it
like
for
this policy.
students or,
Family,
okay,
so we'll continue operating with the one that we already have in operation until we approve any changes. It'll be minor changes like no hoodies this year. It's little things like that. It's not huge policy changes. This is a huge policy change, so this one comes before the board separately. The other things would be like we're changing the dates, we're changing saying no hoodies, we're saying can't wear pants that look like this.
No
Are
leggings.
we allowed to get a copy of that? Could we-
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna ask. So Julian, when it's done, or when we have the draft done, will you just send it around to everybody? And then it'll also be in your agenda before the board meeting in August.
And the current one is on our website under our parents.
so it's policies and.
Just general policies.
Okay, and so, if we get that draft, will it also have
It'll
what's,
just be highlighted.
what the
changed.
change is? Perfect, thank you.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to table the review and approval of the FY26 handbooks.
And that we table the approval of the 2026 handbooks.
Do we have a second? Aaron seconds it. All right. Bryn, how do you vote?
Aye, sorry.
No worries. I'm going to you first now. That way I won't forget you. That's what I'm. Aaron.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
I vote aye. Bill.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. Quickly, I just thought of one more thing. We're gonna get to Julianne's principal report just on my this stuff I was talking about earlier. The other thought I had, and that I want this to always kind of be done with Julianne's blessing or support is, or this I thought of, and Julianne, I don't know if this is possible, but I was just thinking like, how can I understand the school better? And I just wondered like, if there are opportunities such as like a big staffing service meeting that we could come to, that some of the board members could come to kind of be seen, to meet some people, to see what's going on. I would find that kind of informative, but I want to make sure that it was being done in a way that wasn't disruptive or causing more work. Is that
Yeah,
What are we allowed to be in that space altogether?
altogether,
Probably-
you're a quorum.
yeah, but so Dan, we're 7 now, so what is it? What's a quorum? Is it
Quorum
four?
would be 4.
Okay, all right.
So 3 of you can come.
Yeah,
I'm
which
usually not available, so.
Yeah.
I can-
Aaron needs 18 months advance to be able to.
If not there, if not at one of those meetings, is it possible for admin or other department people to inform us of that?
Yeah.
Because what I feel is I can't make good policy decisions if I don't know what's going on in the school.
Yeah, I guess that was another thing. That's very helpful. Thank you, Terry. I had that written down. Is Julianne to think about. I just want to be careful about this stuff because I do not want to be adding more to your plate at this point, because my view of that plate is that it is already very overloaded. But is there a sanctioned kind of communication method or other information sharing method when something big happens? Yeah, I would just think like I don't know, like an incident with a student, or that thing when we had to shut school, like so that that you can easily, or somebody can easily, you, Kyle, maybe would even be like a better person, can kind of, we're getting as a board updates without it being kind of an obligatory kind of flowing communication. It's a little bit more, obviously it can be followed up on, but it doesn't, it's more just like, say for example, it is Kyle and something, or there's going to be a big construction thing or whatever. Just want to let you guys know, this is happening. And I think it would help us feel more connected to the school, and also hopefully in the future save you maybe some time from having to come back and or bring us back up to speed at the board meeting or something.
So I think one quick way is to have your numbers in our, if you're not already in, because you're
Yes, well,
a parent.
Yeah, we'll get the
You'll
parent,
get
yeah,
the Parent
yeah.
information, and then you'll get construction updates, and then you get the newsletters.
Yeah.
And I guess we could work out what those details are, what you think would be beneficial.
Yeah.
To know.
Maybe actually a better way to do this now that I'm thinking about it is, and I can talk with Kyle and you, and maybe I can be the conduit to, so I'm not putting it on you to communicate with everybody, but I'm asking you and Kyle and anybody else to, if there's something that like is significant enough that you think the board should know, can you notify this? And then I will take it on my responsibility to disseminate and make sure that we all have that information. But I ultimately I want to default to what you think works best and is best, but that's
So I think if we could come up, maybe you and I can talk about, and I'll give you some information, and then you can perhaps decide what information you think is worth sharing or just holding on to.
Okay.
I mean, things happen all the time and then they resolve
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
You know,
It is a fine,
can-
it is a fine line, and it's and then like for Aaron and I and Terry who have kids or grandkids here, I'm sure we get a certain amount of hear about what's going on because we're here for assembly to see our kids sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" or whatever they were singing.
That was a great one, by the way.
Yeah, it was really good. I love that. But I think again, going back to what I was saying at the beginning too, just like I think, the more we know, the more we potentially can be helpful with as things come up. And also, so we'll talk if that sounds good to everybody, and then I'll try and come up with a way where probably not on a kind of any regular thing, but just as it comes up, I'm sharing information and just so that I want us to kind of like have the heartbeat of the school, eventually to the extent possible. And we get those in snippets month to month. It's great. It's awesome. I love when we get like test scores back and we see we've gone up a little bit more, but like, maybe we'd spoil that one or something, just to know, okay, and then we can like feel the joy with you when it comes out or whatever, it's just stuff like that. So, okay.
I think as far as information sharing as well, because all of us have busy schedules, if the board packet per se, as it's called, can come out just a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So that I have a little bit more time.
Terry,
to review
what
everything
do you guys think is because so here, let me
a
explain.
week.
A week. So that seems totally doable to me. What'll probably happen, and the easiest way to do that is that I will try and start either Katie or I a week in advance of our board meeting to send you our draft agenda and materials that we have.
Okay.
We will things will be taken off or added like here or there a little bit because we want to use up, we have to do 72 hours before it needs to be posted online. And I think sometimes there's going to be things that are Katie, I'm sure I won't dare ask her to have her financials ready like a week early or whatever. Like there'll be some things, and sometimes, Katie will have to come, but try to get you everything that we have a week in advance because we'll know some of the big things, especially when there's like a really thick thing in there. And then send out another one when it's, when it's finalized, which is usually going to be the Friday before the Tuesday board meeting. I think we can absolutely do that. And I agree, that would be optimal.
I just think that serves a number of really good needs. Right, so if there's something on the agenda that's really got me bugged or something like that,
Yeah.
rather than maybe drag it out through a long board meeting, we have a conversation. I can have a conversation with Jillian and say, hey, what's really behind this? I get an explanation, and so when we get to the boardroom, it's a lot quicker and easier. Right?
And that's good. And that brings me to something else. I should have followed my notes to make sure I said everything I wanted to say, but like we all should consider ourselves equally responsible and authoritative for how we decide to influence what the board does and what it's responsible for. And I think there's roles, and I think, there's maybe some things that I will do, as chair that are different, but I think like everybody should feel that they have like full blessing and that we want you to be stepping in. Like this is a very simple example, but I think it's very helpful. And I don't think there should be a sense of, well, I shouldn't, I think we'd be much better if we did it this way, but I don't want to rock the boat or whatever. I think we absolutely need to be saying to each other, how do we do this better? How do we make it easier for us? how do we make it more efficient, stuff like that. This is a simple example, but like we are only limited by, we need to meet once a month, we need to have a couple of committees, oh, that's another thing. And, there's a couple of things the state asks us to do. Everything else is up to us. And so the more kind of thought we're putting into it, the more we're thinking about how can we be more efficient? How can we help each other? How can we, that's going to really improve us. But people have to be, even if, I don't know, I'm sure I will come up with some really terrible ideas sometime and you guys will be like, okay, that's a terrible idea, but you got to be willing to just, shoot, send it out there. And so then that's another thing that I really want to kind of get dug in, and we won't get into it too much today, but hopefully I can have something prepared for next board meeting. Is I really want to look at, and Julianne and I were talking about this before, and it is kind of going back to our committees and really kind of shoring up what committees we have, who is on them, what the responsibilities are, because the committees allow us to work more efficiently without having, needing a quorum or whatever else. And I think I would like to look at, potentially adding some committees or changing some responsibilities to committees. I think one thing that I mentioned is I would love to have, if the finance committee is, in addition to doing its state obligated thing, which is, thank you, girl guy, the audits and stuff, I want us to be thinking as a whole about the financial health of the school, how we can maybe help out, maybe it's, grants, maybe it's fundraising, maybe it's something else, because that the financial health of the school is a big part of our responsibilities. And so, but I want to think of it, some of that is oversight. A lot of that might be oversight. And but also thinking about it, I think a nonprofit board, which I think essentially this is, that is a huge responsibility. How do we get this organization the money they need to do everything that they want to do, that they're capable of doing? And I'm not saying that we need to take it upon ourselves that the board needs to be bringing in $1 million a year on its own outside of anything else. But I'm saying it would be very awesome if we could get to, something like that we were being, grants, whatever else, that we can kind of not just,
Or some sort of knowledge of what's happening with or with
Yeah.
the bonds,
Yep.
right? Because when we know more, then we can make better decisions. And
Yeah.
I've been on the board for a year now, and that's the thing that I would really like to see change, is not just showing up to a vote.
Yep.
But being informed, because I'm here every day of the school year.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then when I get home and some parent calls me and is irate about something that happened at the school, I always go back to policy and procedure. The school has those in place. But, it's like that, and we're gonna get that because we're community members, we're in it, we're swimming in it. And so if I'm more informed about everything that's going on, and that's not just the dome, and that's just not the bonds. This is what we talk about at the state level, where we go from there, what we do at the federal level, and how we can best use those federal funds. I'm an expert in that.
I know you are.
I can help with that.
Yeah.
So, but in 1 year that hasn't come up.
Yeah.
And so now I want more. I
Yeah.
want to do more as a board.
I
I want
want
to
to,
know more about the school. I want to help the school so that if I come across a grant, which my latest one was for $500,000, well, I might be able to help
Yeah.
the school. You see what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So that
100%.
conversation has to be had in between. We just can't show up at 5:15 on the last Tuesday of every month and be like, oh, well, all right.
Yep.
well, Okay,
really,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're ultimately reviewing things that have already happened, and we want to be plugged into what's happening and driving.
Things happen.
Yes, I love that, Terry. And Dan, for board committees, do you know offhand, board committees are going to give us kind of some, a board committee can meet on their own. It's not gonna, is it, I guess maybe it's by definition, is it less than a quorum, or, are we limited? We need to have finance and audit, but we're not limited in any other way in terms of what we have to have.
That's correct. So a committee should be less than a quorum. If it's more than a quorum, you have to notice their meetings and do them in open.
Record it and do all the other stuff.
So less than a quorum, that you stated the 2 required committees, and beyond that, it's up to the board. So some schools have an executive committee, some schools will have a facilities committee, academic committee. It just depends on what you want in terms of the board's work.
Okay, so I would like us to think about, in the interim between, today and our next meeting. Um. Kind of what we want our kind of committee system to look like. Bill,
So, and I would say this about committees, and this, Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this. Having committees doesn't mean that board members only serve on that committee. That we look for those outside people who are interested in the school's work and have expertise in a particular area, and you bring them onto a committee, and that is your pipeline and your feeder system to replace board members. Right? You find good board members through good committee work. So I would,
and Dan, that's an excellent thought, Bill, and
and then you're not running into a quorum issue.
so we can put anybody can be on a committee. That's correct?
Yeah, you can have non-board members on a committee,
That's awesome.
and that doesn't affect quorum either. So you could have, as long as you just don't have a quorum of board members, that's fine. And you can have whoever you want on a committee. So it's really up to the board to do the membership. And it does, I mean, well, I should say the audit committee has specific requirements for membership.
Yeah,
That includes non-members, so a parent and a volunteer with
right.
expertise. But you can have whoever you want on the committees, and it's a good place to, recruit members and get people involved.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is to us kind of over email, and kind of on our own to start thinking this month, about kind of what committees make sense to have. And then, for example, we could have a fundraising committee and they could work on fundraising. But it also could just make sense that fundraising falls under the finance committee because it's dealing with finances. And so if we can, ideally, I would like us to be able to progress enough in our discussion outside of board meetings so that in our August board meeting, we can vote on kind of membership and establishing the committees that we want to have. Bill,
Do we have a strategic plan?
Not officially, we just talked about that today, that there should be like an official strategic plan.
Because those goals would define what committees were needed, right? So
and we're also kind of Julian gave me the bylaws. We're also going through that. This is the time. This is kind of where we're at. We're kind of refreshing all that, and it's positive, but it's so maybe we can go over or get something basic together in like the next week. But if we can try and kind of progress and obviously, like, I don't want us to be adding committees for the sake of adding committee or because it sounds good that we have a,
Like Bill said, it's just the work that needs to be done.
exactly. Yeah. And so that maybe we could, Bill, that's a good idea, use that to kind of influence and then, kind of come up with a little draft plan. And then as long as we can put a little work on it, August, we can kind of set those up. And then, we will have, I assume there's a committee chair. Is that functions like?
Well, there isn't a chair. That we
Okay,
could-
well, we could
we
delegate
just
somebody
have-
within it
yeah.
to kind of, keep it going but that also, again, to the other point that I made, that is already kind of expanding kind of our impact and the help that we're offering by having those committees.
The only committees we've had so far are the mandatory ones,
Mhm.
so just drawn by whatever the thing.
Which
is that we
probably-
do.
Need refreshing because I don't think I'm on a committee.
You would be on finance.
Cause you're the president.
Oh, I guess I am now, but up until now.
Is there a draft of the strategic plan that you say that was?
So any strategic plan, we continually blow out of the water. We start with, when we were 110 students, we figured we needed to get to 200, 250 by the 5th year mark. And we were at 230 by the 2nd year. And so it's anything that we've tried to do, or we just haven't been able to get ahead of it. It's just, if we come up with marks, we blow them out. And so
So the strategy is getting more kids?
no, that's not the strategy. Eventually. So as far as enrollment goes, the strategy, I suppose, would be to move ourselves to 3 sections wide as soon as we have the facilities and the staff to maintain that.
Okay.
And we've not, that it's not you know, when I give you the report, you'll see, it's not about the students, it's about the facilities and the staff.
Okay.
So we just don't have the structure in place to meet the demand. So enrollment's never been something that we've strict. No, there are some things that we have struggled to do, and I would like some board support with that. Then that would also be something that we can talk about as far as like understanding what is a classical education and what is it that we're trying to accomplish here. And developing an elevator pitch and developing those marketing materials and things like that. Not for enrollment to drive, but to let the community know what we're about, and that has been a struggle to do. And so
I think it helps with teachers as well, trying to draw additional.
I mean, that's a goal and strategy.
we've been working on that for quite a while.
Right, so
Yeah, they get.
No, we don't have a PTO. We've had a couple of parent organizations and we do have an equity council, but we need to kind of merge those.
Yeah, so I think did I send my PTA document to everybody or maybe just you? I sent Julianne something, I would like us to consider having a PTA. Is that what you were saying? PTA?
Yeah.
PTO,
Oh.
yeah.
Maybe we can't say PTO.
okay.
It's gonna confuse me. Yeah, we don't.
Like, PTA.
PTA. My mom was on PTA, so is PTA. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and I have a document I can send you that outlines kind of what I think, and also I took the time to have ChatGPT help me come up with a full history of PTA in America, which I think is interesting to look at when you think about doing something. Why does this thing exist? The viewpoint that I initially thought about it from is really and it can serve so many functions, but also just in the classroom to having more support there for the teachers, for communication, for getting stuff together for an event or whatever else, just to maybe but I really think if we had a kind of a well function, it is amplifying what we do and also hopefully taking a little bit of work off of everyone else's plates, because there's some simple things that the PTA can help with that is freeing up our teachers for more time, on teaching, and our administrators for more time on administrating. So
Is that the board's
I
role to establish that, or is that?
I don't know if it would have to be board driven.
No, I don't think so.
We have a requirement. We have a requirement to have.
We would approve the use of it, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, but other than
Yeah.
that, it's.
Could we roll our equity council requirement into a PTA, you think, or does it have to
I
exist?
think it goes the other way around. We can take
Okay,
PTA and roll it into our equity council, because we have to have the equity council and we don't always have enough participation. I think if we could get parents involved with that, that would be good. But the thing with whenever there's a parent organization, it's something that has always been more harm than good.
well, it also like
We
can
have to-
end up taking more work than it takes, it can be something, if not done thoughtfully, that just like ends up being like another obligation or another thing, and it's not adding a lot of value, and all of a sudden, oh, I gotta
Or
be.
there's infighting and then there's new things and they're coming to me to resolve those things, and
But
it's
those,
just not
there, a lot of PTAs have a
terrible.
like a teacher representative or something, but I think the way to do it right would be like, this is something we could kind of take on as a board to try and help get started. And if it's functioning right, it is like kind of, because functioning kind of parallel, but not like fully integrated to what the school is doing. And maybe there is a president of the PTA, and maybe once a month or every 2 months, they might want to talk with Julianne, but we don't want to create this like, we need to be thoughtful about it.
Don't we need to find out like the things that need to be attacked first, besides like rather than starting something first? and then
I'll
being
send you.
like, oh, well, what direction are we going?
I'll send
It
you-
Seems like, what does
Yeah.
Julianne need?
That's why I think, even if it's just looking at those goals that you feel have been kind of pushed to the wayside, Jillian, and looking at how we can best utilize the board's talents to drive those goals forward and see success. I think that's worth looking at and starting there first before
Yeah.
we.
Are there specific guidelines that you have to use from the state for your equity councils? Can you share that with me? Cause I'd love to be thinking, I'd love to be on there, so.
Hey, you're in.
When I get home after this, I will send you kind of what I have so far, and then let's think through it and I agree. I think it's a very good point. You want to do something just for the sake of doing it,
Yeah.
but I think you could also do something. I've outlined a couple of ways where I think it would be effective and beneficial to the school. But I think it's also, a couple modest goals that we think are within reach by doing it. I think could very well make it.
I also, if I could chime in, is, there's new trends. I mean, maybe not with the dissolvement of the Department of Education, but there are new trends on talk about wiping out a classical education, right? There's trends that are in the news now, and there's big things happening in the state as well. It's been happening for about 8 years now, 10 years, with the equity issue and the Ozzie Martinez lawsuit. Okay, and so that's happening currently. And as a board, I think we need to know the current affairs of what's going on that affect the kids in the school. Because I'm sure it's gonna go up from 53% to maybe a little higher, you never know, 54% Native American and special ed. And all of those different entities within that lawsuit, I believe that would really bring us to the forefront of knowledge of what's happening current events, right? And I'd be willing to furnish all the literature for it, for us to be able to keep up on that and spearhead something where we discuss it once a month. I've read the book several times, and so I kind of get what everything is covering, and I think that it would be important for us to just know, right? Not to take more time out of our days. We're all busy, right? And so that's kind of my, if we could have somebody report to us, right, instead of me taking out another day or another morning to come out to another meeting at the school to learn more about if it could come to us and we can learn here as a group, it's very, very beneficial as us having cohesiveness for everything
Yeah.
that comes through the school. So,
Good.
thank you,
Thanks, Terry.
thank you.
All right, we got heavily sidetracked, but does anybody else have anything along those lines before we get to the principal report? All right, Julianne.
Lay it on us.
All right, so typically we have firm numbers to give you about enrollment and demographics and staffing, but we are in a transition period right now where the state has just validated the data from June 30th and we roll over in July. And so in order to roll all our systems over, then we have to take the lottery and the wait list and then merge these things together. So it's in process right now. We currently show about 872 students.
Wow.
That's a lot of students.
Yeah.
872 with 246 still on the wait list after we've already
Oh
backfilled.
my goodness.
So 246 are still waiting. In some of our classes, fourth grade has 41 students on a wait list. We could open up almost 2 more classes with that. And so it is a struggle. We get a lot of calls from parents wanting to know why we can't get in this year. And some parents have one student in, but they can't get the other student in. So it is a little bit of a difficult situation because we'd like anybody who wanted a classical education to have one, but we can't do that. We got to do what we can manage, right? Demographics, I imagine will stay the same. I have no reason to believe that they won't be similar. They started off when we first opened about 49%, 48, 49% Native American. They've gone up to about 56, 57% Native American. And I think that's where it'll land. About 76% minority. We're fully staffed. We do have some positions listed, but they're not emergency positions. They are positions that we have some time to consider. All critical positions have been filled. We're working on our first bond report. So every quarter you have to submit a report in regard to what our status is for our school and all the little checks and boxes of like the things that they require as far as enrollment. We have to hit our marks for all those things. So we have to submit a report. So that's
that
the process.
Axiom, are they taking the lead on that or is that word?
No, So I completed the portion that I know about the school, then Axiom has a portion of our financials, and then Kyle has a portion for the construction. So I did my portion, passed it on, so we'll be submitting that. It's supposed to be within 45 days, so I guess it'll be August 15th, because it says of June 30th. So we're ready to start with teacher training and jumpstart, so we have a period of time before we go our full day. We have a sort of modified schedule that starts on July 31st will be the first day that we have, so an introduction orientation, and then classes start on Friday the 1st, with jumpstart being a 7:45 to 1:15 school day, and kids don't have to be in uniform. The first day to be full uniform, full day, 8:30 to 3:30 is August 14th. In the meantime, when we have training going on at the same time that we have this modified schedule going on. So for example, high school is going to do all SAT prep. So they do math and vocabulary, and they just go in and sit and do these practice tests. Our 12th graders are doing their Common App, writing their essays. And junior high is doing Macbeth play, and elementary students will be in their classrooms doing various specials and math and reading. So we start that, and then we start our full day on the 14th. We did get some preliminary data, and it does look like our state's testing scores are higher than they were last year, maybe even really good.
What do you, how does it, they give you preliminary data, but is it?
It's all embargoed, we're not allowed to share it.
Okay,
and-
okay, so in a public meeting, yeah, you shouldn't.
But as far as what really matters is we're a K-12 school, so in the end, what's happening with our students that were graduating? And our students who took their SAT in the state of New Mexico, everybody takes the SAT. That is the state testing. So our students, the average is higher than the state average. And that hasn't happened in Cal.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So
This is-
I don't know, maybe they met the state average this year, but as of all the years past.
This is our first time.
This is our first time out of the gate.
Yeah.
First time being eligible for state championships, and we went to 3 in the spring. So so a lot of good things are happening. They're just starting, right? There's just it's 8 years, but it's like year 1, again. Every year's year 1. So and I guess that's all I have, unless you have specific questions that you'd like as new board members, Bill, if there's something you would like to know about. Typically, it's just enrollment and those kind of stats, and or if anything big's happening.
I don't want to get too far behind on this 10 hours of certification and instruction that we're required to do. So if there is a list of those things and where I can go to resource them and bring them up so that I can
Dan,
just
did you
do
know-
them at
Email?
Well, not yet, because he hasn't been officially by the.
And Dan, do you think so if is the thing that you gave Bill to sign today, is that the last thing, and then he should be good to go?
I think that is, yeah.
Dan, will you send me an email once you've submitted it? And then I will send an email to the people at PD and connect them with Bill, just so that they know, even if the paperwork's still processing, that they know that you're joining us, and they'll be great. They'll get you the info to set up, and then you should be able to jump on in.
I just don't want to have to do 5 and 6 hours. of it.
No.
Yeah.
It's about an hour a month, I think it comes to, yeah.
Mhm.
That's fine,
Yeah.
but I just don't want to get behind the 8 ball. So.
Yeah, I will follow up on that, and I'm sure. They're pretty helpful at, answering any questions.
And the information they give you is really good. I mean, it helps you at that test at the end.
Side eye.
We graduated together, buddy.
You can take tests as many times as
No
you
need
want.
to.
He knows. things she should.
Oh, well, what's everything?
Right, right.
We're gonna add an action item to the next meeting for story time.
That's it. We're good.
Okay, awesome. We are, we are adjourned. I will adjourn then. Yeah, no comments, no. What stuff is,
Just say